So that's my cue that it's 10 a.m. and I'd like to call to order the teleconference meeting of the Board of Directors of Friday, January 22nd, 2021. And please note this is being recorded. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome our new directors from Sonoma and Marin joining our board today. I'll start with Chris Snyder, who was appointed to our board by the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors effective January 1st. Welcome, Mr. Snyder. And before I have you say a few words, I'll turn this back over to the Secretary to complete your oath of office. Madam Secretary, please proceed.
Thank you, President Parr. Mr. Snyder, you have your oath of office verbiage I sent to you, and when you're ready, I am going to have you, and I'm going to trust you're doing this, to raise your right hand and repeat after me to recite the oath.
I have it raised.
Okay, good. Maybe you could take a selfie and send it to me, but I'm going to have you. So I'm going to have you repeat after me. I, Chris Snyder, do solemnly swear.
I, Chris Snyder, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
And during such time as I hold the office of Director, Golden Gate Bridge Highway Transportation District.
Upon which I am about to enter, and during which time as I hold the office of Director, Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District.
Thank you, Director Snyder. Thank you, and welcome to the district.
Thank you.
Good morning, Director Snyder. Those are powerful words, aren't they? Would you like to say a few words?
Sure. I really thank everyone for welcoming me. I really look forward to working with everyone. Now it's a little bit of a change, but I come here with over 15 years and a lot of experience working with diverse groups from both sides across the political aisle. Most of my work has been around transportation, infrastructure funding, and trying to find solutions as a union rep and as an organizer, and now as a government relations director. I oversee 4 states and represent the largest construction local in the United States, and we really do try to work in a bipartisan fashion and everything. And I'm a very solutions-oriented person. I think the support I received in getting this position came from, both my congressmen, almost all the state elected officials, the largest business group that advocates for infrastructure in the state. So I had a very diverse group of folks that support me, and a lot of that is because of my ability to work across the aisle and kind of create coalitions. And whatever I do, I put my heart into. So I really look forward to, working with all of you in this very difficult time that we're going through. And I really appreciate the kind calls that I got from President Parr and many of you. So thank you, and I look forward to this. It's a true honor in my career.
Thank you, Director Snyder. Welcome. Madam Secretary, would you please continue and administer the oath of office to Supervisor Dennis Rodini, who is appointed by the Marin County Board of Supervisors on January 12th, 2021.
Thank you, President Parr. I believe, Supervisor, you have the oath in front of you. I also sent to your office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm going to also ask you to raise your right hand, and when you're ready, repeat after me.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I, Dennis Rodoni, do solemnly swear
I, Dennis Rodoni, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter,
and during such time as I hold the office of Director, Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District.
and during such time as I hold the office of Director, Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District.
Thank you, Director Rodoni, and welcome to the district.
Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
Director Rodoni, would you like to say a few words?
Sure, no, it's just very nice to meet you all. I look forward to the day that we can meet in person again. I represent the County of Marin on this board, but I just wanted to tell you what my district entails. At the largest district in Marin, it's District 4, and that includes West Novato, East San Rafael, Corte Madera, a portion of Green Bay and Larkspur, and Homestead Valley, including the whole West Coast from Muir Beach to Dillon's Beach. And I'm really looking forward to learning more about the Bridge District and working with you all in a collaborative effort. I know there's a lot of challenges going forward for all transit, and I just came off as president of the Marin County Marin Transit Board, and so last January 5th became president of our board for this year. So it's going to be quite a busy year for me. So hopefully I can keep up with you all, and thank you for the warm welcome.
Well, thank you again. And I have just a clever little story here. We welcome both of you, of course, and thank you for your interest in joining our board. If you were sitting at the table in the boardroom right now, instead of being remotely, you'd see that the 19 of us move up this long table based on when we joined the board. So that being said, Director Stephanie, without ever sitting at the table, has just avoided those last seats. And the two of you get those last two seats, and we especially welcome you, as does she. Anyway, so welcome, and we look forward to meeting both of you in person, maybe sometime in the fall. Madam Secretary, would you please proceed with the items on the agenda and the roll call?
Thank you. I will begin with the roll call with Director Arnold.
Here.
Present. Director Fredericks.
Here.
Director Garbarino.
Here.
Director Grosboll. Absent. Director Hernandez. Here. Present. Director Hill.
Here.
Director Maston.
Here.
Director Moylan.
Here.
Director Rabbit.
Here, and welcome to our new colleagues.
Director Rodoni.
Here.
Thank you. Director Snyder.
Here.
Director Stephanie. Absent. Second Vice President Cochran.
Here.
First Vice President Terrio.
Here.
Thank you. And President Parr.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum. I'm going to confirm that staff is on the line. Dennis Mulligan.
Good morning. I'm present.
Joe Wire.
Yes, present.
Thank you. Ava Bauer-Furbich.
Present.
Thank you. Kim Manolius.
Morning. Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. And I believe Attorney Madeline Chun is also on the line.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you. Steve Miller.
Present. Good morning.
Mona Babauta.
Present.
Jim Swindler.
Present.
Thank you. And Kelly Hopper.
Present.
Thank you. That confirms staff and directors on the line.
All right, thank you again, everyone, for joining us this morning, and we appreciate your continued patience as we conduct our business in this manner. I'll be asking if board members have any comments or questions on the agenda items. If there are questions, the secretary will call on you accordingly, and after the discussion, we'll be taking the appropriate roll call votes. You can probably all recite this, but please, this is also a reminder that if you're not speaking, please mute your phones to minimize the noise on today's call, and remember to unmute them when you're speaking. Each page of the meeting packet is numbered on the bottom right-hand corner for ease of following along. Director Hill, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, please prepare yourself for the oath. Hand on heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Director Hill. Madam Secretary, would you please continue to the next item?
Thank you. We're going to move on to public comment for any and all items on today's agenda, including all matters listed under special order of business. So if you wish to speak on an item today, you don't have to wait for the item. Speak to it now. Justine is on the line to moderate our public comment line, so Justine will be introducing each speaker today. Justine, go ahead.
Justine, before we begin, how many speakers are there in the queue?
We have 8 speakers in the queue this morning, Madam President.
Okay, perfect. I think we'll keep with the regular time limits then. Thank you.
You're welcome. Our first speaker this morning is Kimberly Renee Gamboa. Ms. Gamboa?
Good morning. My name is Kimberly Renee Gamboa, and I am holding one of my photos of my 18-year-old son, Kyle Emerson Gamboa. He is displaying a happy, beautiful smile in his high school class picture. Kyle jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge on September 20th, 2013 at 11:45 a.m. I wanted to thank you for your continuing construction on the Golden Gate Bridge suicide deterrent during the COVID-19 pandemic. A suicide deterrent is more important than ever in helping people cope, especially during this crisis. I would also like to thank the former directors, Gina Bellaforte, Catherine Sears, Norman E., Sandra Lee Fewer, and Brian Sobel for all of their hard work and continued efforts on the Golden Gate Bridge suicide deterrent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gamboa.
Thank
Our
you,
next
Kimberly.
speaker is Dave. I apologize. Our next speaker is Dave Rohde. Mr. Rohde?
President Parr, board members, managers, and staff, good morning. My name is Dave Rohde. I'm with the Climate Reality Project. I hope all of you and your loved ones remain healthy. First, let me congratulate you on your success in saving the jobs of so many worthy people working at the Golden Gate Bridge District. While we're all still facing the threat of COVID, there is now light at the end of the tunnel, just as there is new light coming from Washington. Celebration is in order. With the inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on Wednesday, we can mark the end of the environmentally destructive policies of Trump. We welcome in a president more committed to climate action and sound environmental policy than any president in U.S. history. I know that you have your hands full with the pandemic's impact on your transit system, and I know these challenges are not going to go away soon. But the months and years ahead with Biden as president, Michael Regan as EPA director, Gina McCarthy as the new climate czar, and Pete Buttigieg as the new Secretary of Transportation will be an unprecedented opportunity to achieve net zero emissions from the Golden Gate transit fleet. Now is the time to start planning for an all-electric ferry and bus system. I have never doubted the bridge's the district's desire to lower CO2 emissions. Switching to renewable diesel was an earnest attempt, but I've spent 2 years telling you that the environmental benefits of renewable diesel are largely a myth. In a recent Zoom meeting I hosted with SF Environment staff and the leading biofuel researcher at the International Council on Clean Transportation, we heard the latest life cycle analysis of renewable diesel. Renewable diesel is primarily made from crops like soy and corn, not from used cooking oils, as you've been led to believe. Renewable diesel is a biofuel, and all biofuels rely on croplands that should be used for food. At the end of her presentation, I asked Dr. Stephanie Searle to give us a definitive answer on renewable diesel. I asked her, in fact, if it is worse for the environment than petroleum. She answered unequivocally yes. Mr. Mulligan, board members, I'm happy to share my research, as I've been trying to do with SFMTA and the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. The latest CARB assessment is part of that. They said that while it does provide a 10% reduction in emissions of carbon monoxide and nitrous oxide, renewable diesel does not reduce tailpipe CO2 emissions. You must start planning now to move to an all-electric transit fleet. We have a 10-year window to begin solving the climate crisis. If we wait, if we delay, the climate crisis could reach a point of no return. You and I know that for the sake of our children and our grandchildren, we have to act now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruby.
Our next speaker is David Pilpel. David?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Good morning, David Pilpel from San Francisco. Thanks to the board and staff for hearing my comments yesterday. I won't repeat them here today. I did review the MTC report for next Wednesday with the $20.3 million proposed allocation to the district. Thanks to Joe for alerting me to that during yesterday's meeting. It is good news for all of us, but does not resolve the operating budget deficit for this year and next. I'm sorry, did you want us to also address items 10A to 10F at this time?
Yes, please.
Okay, so on 10A to 10F, I appreciate the director's past service on the board. You have all represented the public well. And while I anticipate some disagreement on Brian Sobel's appointment, I know that he will serve well on the retirement board, understanding the district and its finances and assuring proper pensions for district retirees. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pilpel.
Our next speaker is Shane Weinstein. Shane, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. And I just need to clarify, in public comment, are we going to be able to speak on agenda item 10 later?
If you're going to speak on it, Shane, you need to speak on it now, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Good morning, President Parr, Shane Weinstein, President of ATU. I represent 250 active and 400 pensioners. I'm asking today because it is proposed by the President that former board director Brian Sobel stay as an active trustee on the Golden Gate Bridge Amalgamated Retirement Plan. To be honest, I'm a little confused and would like to know what necessitates this move by the President at this time. Now, you may hear that there's a precedent set back in 2001 with Resolution 2001-140. This has happened once in 88 years. 88 years, this has happened one time. You won't hear me speak badly or greatly about Mr. Sobel. This is not what this is about. This is about perception. This is about optics. This is about fairness. This is about trust. Why would we keep a former director whom the supervisors in Sonoma replaced just last month continue to serve in any capacity? We have a new board. We have new opportunities. We have new ideas. Are these directors not capable? Are the directors that won reappointment not capable? I don't get it. We should welcome change. I've been a trustee for nearly 3 years now, and I believe this is Mr. Sobel's 11th year and the longest-standing trustee on the board. Our pension is in the toilet, roughly 50% funded. It even dipped into the 40% range, and at our last meeting, our actuary actually used the term death spiral. When speaking about the plan we are in, we're in no means out of the woods. So I ask again, is it Mr. Sobel's performance on the plan? Is it that no other director is willing to take Mr. Sobel's spot? What's the rush? There is no reason for this to happen right now. After the lengthy, tenuous layoff situation that just happened, with which Mr. Sobel played a big role, I am obligated on behalf of my members to speak who do not support this reappointment to our pension board. ATU 1575 asks for a no vote later on the reappointment of Mr. Sobel. There's a lot of talent on that board, and we look forward to working with whomever the board decides. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shane.
Our next speaker is Derek Young. Mr. Young? Derek Young? Madam President, we can come back to Mr. Young. Our next speaker after that is John Holden. Mr. Holden?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Good morning, President Parr, General Manager Mulligan, and directors. My name is John Holden. I'm an employee of the District Bus Division. In the spirit of the new Biden-Harris administration, I would like to talk about unity and accountability. I don't think there could be unity without accountability. This brings me to comments made at the December 23rd meeting that rescinded the layoff votes. I found the comments by one director offensive, stating the union's scorched earth approach to replacing Director Sobel for no reason, and that we knew we would get money, so why do it? I would say, why lay off if you knew you were getting money? Why put a single mother through the traumatic experience of losing her job for no reason? I must push back on the revisionist history. I'm glad the minutes of the November 20th is on the agenda today. My version of the November 13th special meeting and events leading up to it were that there was a toll increase put on the table, articles in the paper with ex-director Dick Spotwood, then a new layoff date, modification proposed, even though not agendized. It felt to me like a last-minute bait and switch to gain majority of votes. I believe, despite the district's lawyer, that Brown was violated in two areas. The first, not noticed or agendized or vetted in committee. The second, of open meetings. I believe at least 5 or 6 directors were communicating behind the scenes to gain a majority majority. Workers just want truth and a fair shake. My father was a San Francisco longshoreman. The Longshoremen's Union was the first to support the farm workers back in the 70s. Believe it or not, workers did not have shade, toilets, or water to drink at some farms. Workers died of heat exhaustion. In 1972, the longshoremen were on strike for over 180 days. My family ate a lot of soup during that time. About 3 months in, at a dark moment, Cesar Chavez came down the Embarcadero with 3 truckfuls full of food for the longshoremen. I will never forget that day. Now we have a holiday named after Caesar, and my point is, workers are not going after somebody for no reason. All workers want is to take care of their families. Thank you for listening. And I'd like to make a brief comment on Section 10.7. I'm opposed against Patty Gabarino for serving on the SMART train because there's an obvious conflict of interest with the rail running behind her property. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Holden.
I'd like to go back and ask Mr. Young if he's on the line.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. My name is Garrett Young. I'm a resident of Petaluma for the last 5.5 years. Previously lived in Nevada for 30 years and spent 8 years in Mill Valley as a youth and 12 years in San Francisco as a youth and adult. I'm speaking as a retired Golden Gate Transit driver. First day of retirement was December 1. I worked for the district 19.5 years. And for the last several years, as many of you are aware, the pension has had many troubles. I spoke to the district several years ago about the situation, and that I think as a union member at that point, I voted to approve the district, I believe, or the union lending, or basically having the district cease putting anything into the pension. From that time forward, the union pension went upside down, topsy-turvy, and a great deal of distress for the members. As was mentioned, Mr. Sobel is up for appointment for the trust. And one thing is he served on the board while this situation was being brought to light. And I don't recall him really being anything of any leadership position to really find what the problem was, and not acknowledging just the overwhelming situation that the district ceased funding the pension. The title of that position is Amalgamated Trust, Health, Welfare Trust, and Retirement Board. And I have no confidence that Mr. Sobel would do anything except to, again, whatever reasons he had, he never brought the problem to light, never really sought to resolve the problem, and I have no trust that he will be able to do so in the future, even as a member of the trust itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Our next speaker is David Herrera. David? Please use ** to unmute yourself. David Herrera? Okay, we'll come back. Our next speaker is Frank Gleason. Frank?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Frank Gleason, and I'm a Golden Gate Transit driver. And over 2 years ago, I came to this board with a petition signed by many, many drivers, over 100, and it was regarding the Golden Gate Transit Amalgamated Retirement Plan. And it had a lot of issues. It was underfunded. The district was only contributing, at that time, about 20% of wages into the pension, and helpers was getting about 30. Now we're about even, helpers and GTARP. So today, in agenda item 10F, the full board is to vote to approve the Golden Gate Transit Amalgamated appointments. As a participant of the GTARP plan, I request that the directors only appoint trustees to my plan that are members of the Golden Gate Bridge District. Though I respect that the president of the board selects the prospective trustees, and the board president is granted the ability to reconfirm a trustee, even if the board director is no longer selected by his county, I believe appointing a non-board member to be seated on any committee or board of the district is wrong. It is not only insulting to the 19 members selected by the elected officials of each of the 6 counties, it creates unaccountability. The board and the individual directors are chosen to be responsible for the district. By delegating the responsibility of your public pension to an outsider should never happen. In the past, your attorney, Mana Elias, gave a brief presentation about the district's responsibility for making appointments to GTARP. And I think today is a great time for reconfirmation of what those responsibilities entail. Though past directors may have been allowed to be reconfirmed to complete a term on a committee or an internal board, if this board today appoints Mr. Sobel to a full 2-year term, it will be wrong and is unnecessary. With so many other directors seated on this board, I don't see the reason. I ask you to contemplate whether a non-director should be appointed to the Finance Committee. How about whether a non-director is to be appointed to the Transportation, the Rules, the Building Operating Committee? Would you do that? Why would this body appoint for a full term a non-member to the bus operator's public pension? I encourage members to discuss this agenda today. I believe with solid information regarding the GTARP and the district's obligations to this plan, then and only then should you guys vote the selection of a director appointed by all 6 counties and not an outsider. Thank you very much for listening to me, and have a good day. Frank Gleason.
Thank you, Mr. Gleason.
I'd like to see again if David Herrera is on the line. David?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, first of all, I'd just like to welcome our new board members to the board. We look forward to working with you guys. So this morning, I'm just calling in to object to the process that this board is taking on the appointment to the GGB ATU Pension Board. This pension has seen good and bad times. And at this time, the president and the board, I believe that they must appoint a full board member to assist with this pension. The participants, the operators of Golden Gate Transit, they deserve the attention of a full board member. And I urge the board to reconsider the appointment of a non-member to the board of directors. I appreciate you and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera. Are there more speakers, Ms. Bob?
I have no more speakers on the list, Madam President.
All right, thank you very much. In that case, this concludes the public comments for items on today's agenda. We have a few former directors joining us today online, so I'd like to propose we take items 10A through 10E out of order and address those items now instead of at the end of our agenda. If that's acceptable, I'll need a motion and a second to take up items 10A through 10E.
I'll make that motion.
All right, I have a motion and I have a second.
Second.
Is there anyone opposed? All right, do we need to take a roll call on that one?
I'd also like to read from a letter he received. Read that paragraph. Tiffany.
All right, I'm sorry, I missed that. So I believe we have a first and a second. Let's do it this way. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Nobody opposed.
All right, then thank you, everyone. We'll assume that we take those 10A through 10E now then, please. We'll begin with agenda item 10A to authorize a resolution of appreciation to Gina Belforte in recognition of her service as director on our board. I know that Gina's on the line. Gina was appointed by the County of Sonoma as a representative of the Mayors and Council Members Association of Sonoma County on March 12, 2013. We thank Gina for her years of participation and dedication to our board. Gina, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, President Parr, I would. Thank you so much. You know, when you're born in San Francisco, one of the first things that you do besides loving your family is you fall in love with the Golden Gate Bridge. And that bridge holds so much meaning for my family and myself. And I have enjoyed working with all of you, the committees that I have served on and the work that it was entailed. It's truly been an honor and a privilege to vote on so many of the monumental items in the last 8 years that we did. But I have to say my proudest moment was voting on the suicide deterrent system. And I really want to thank the Gamboas and so many of the families who committed to coming to so many of our meetings and for taking the time to share their stories and advocate for such a significant change. I also want to thank the board for being so welcome and warm and open to me, listening to my thoughts and questions, and really working in a nonpartisan way. I really feel that I've learned from each and every one of you so much. And I also would like to thank Jim Swindler and Steve Miller for giving me such detailed tours of the ferry and bus divisions, and my travel partners, Director Cochran, Director Eddy, Director Hill, and the Secretary of the Bridge, Emmerich Kowong. You know, you continue to help educate me on not only transportation issues that affect the North Bay and San Francisco, but also national issues as well. Dennis, you were incredibly open and listened to so many crazy ideas that I shared with you. My hope is still one day that there will be service in Petaluma, a ferry boat that goes up. And I would be remiss if I forgot Justine and Sonia for being so gracious for the folks that were able to go up on the bridge and experience just what a wonderful view it is from the very top of the Golden Gate Bridge. So, President Parr, it has been, as I said, an honor and a privilege to work with all of you and to represent my district, and I hope that I serve the Bridge, Bus, and Ferry Division well.
Thank you, Gina. That was lovely. Are there any board members who would like to comment before we vote on giving Gina a resolution? All right. Is that Director Cochran? All right.
Yes, it is.
Gina,
for nearly, for nearly 8 years, this board has had the pleasure of having you sitting here through some good times and some very trying times, especially these past 11 months. With sadness, your decision not to run for city council again leaves us an empty seat that will be very difficult to replace. Your cheerful personality is a welcome addition to this board, and it must have been the same for you served as you served councilperson for Rona Park. You'll be missed, and we wish you the best in whatever endeavor you undertake. I talked with our former director, Jim Eddy, yesterday, and he wanted me to extend his wishes that your future be bright and enjoyable. And with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to move this resolution.
All right, thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yes, Madam Chair.
All right. Are there other board members wishing to speak before we conduct a roll call vote?
Madam President, Director Rabbit.
All right, Director Maston. Go ahead, Jim.
That was Rabbit, I believe.
Rabbit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. That's what I get for trying to do that instead of letting Amoret do it, right?
Thank you, President. I just want to say thank you again to Director Belforte. We share the same district. We share a lot of the same concerns, and like you, I think a lot of us share that same experience of growing up in the Bay Area, San Francisco especially, looking out each and every day, seeing the bridge and or hearing the bridge during the summer when the foghorn is blaring. So thank you for your service. Thank you for your thoughtfulness and your attentiveness to all the issues on the board over the years. Look forward to working with you once again, perhaps maybe as short as a few years away. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, are there other board members wishing to make a comment?
Director Terrio?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'll second what Director Cochran and Director Rabbit said. But Gina, I did want to say I really enjoyed on the occasions when we gathered informally the opportunity to meet your wonderful children. And please let them know that they have every reason to be proud of their mother's service on the board. It was great working with you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. I know that we do have a resolution. I don't know that Amoret wants to read the entire resolution. Amoret, is there something in the resolution that you might like to highlight? And then I have a short comment before we take our vote.
Sure, I can. I did draft a resolution, and it does recognize Gina Belforte's service as a member of the Building and Operating Committee and the Rules Policy Industrial Relations Committee. It also does recognize that during her tenure on the board that we successfully completed a number of actions, such as the strategic visions for Golden Gate Ferry, Golden Gate Transit, initiatives on the district's strategic financial plan, installation of the boomable medium barrier, approval of funding and award and construction contracts and other agreements for the suicide deterrent system and wind retrofit project. And one of the other ones I'd mention is also of the architectural design concept for the Golden Gate Bridge toll gantry project, and of course, implementation of the all electronic tolling on the bridge. So those are some of the accomplishments. There are more in the resolution, and I will attach them and send them around when they're finalized and signed. But those are a number of the highlights of the resolution.
All right, thank you. And Gina, I'd personally like to thank you for always being thoughtful in your questions and suggestions. And I know you noted your contributions in one way, but what I'd like to say is, and I've told this to you personally, is you always encouraged us to expand the envelope a little bit. And you always had a creative solution out there that seemed to draw things together and help us move forward. So I really appreciate that. And with that, if there are no other comments, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote on the resolution?
Thank you. This is for item 10A, a resolution of appreciation to Gina Belforte. And I will have a first. We have a first from Second Vice President Cochran and a second from Director Arnold. And starting with Director Arnold.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosball. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
An enthusiastic yes.
Director Maston.
Yes.
Director Moylan.
Yes.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni. Director Rodoni? I think we may have lost Director Rodoni. Director Snyder?
Yes.
Thank you. Director Stephanie? Absent. Second Vice President Cochran?
Yes.
Yes. First Vice President Terrio?
Yes.
And President Parr?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Gina, for your service, and thank you for joining us this morning, and congratulations on your new assignment on the Planning Commission.
Thank you very much.
Moving
I
on.
appreciate it.
You're welcome. Moving on, Agenda 10B is to authorize a resolution of appreciation to Sandra Lee Fewer in recognition of her service as director on our board. Appointed by the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, former Director Fewer took her oath of office on October 27th, 2017. We thank Sandra for serving on our board. Amaret, is Sandra on the line today?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Okay, good. Sandra, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you, President Parr, for giving me the opportunity. Colleagues, I just wanted to apologize that I left the Board of Directors rather abruptly. I had a conflict in scheduling the meetings for the Board of Directors of the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation Authority coincided with at the same time as my appointment to the Select Committee to the City and County of San Francisco, where the school district, the City College of San Francisco, and also the Board of Supervisors sit as a body to solve and work collaboratively together to solve issues concerning the education of our children and our adults. And I had prioritized my position on the Golden Gate Bridge Authority over that committee and had been having a substitute sit for me at those meetings. What I was alerted to was that we needed some assistance at the Board of Supervisors to help push along a plan to reopen schools. As you know, San Francisco Unified School District is the largest provider of childcare in the San Francisco City and County, serving over 53,000 public school families. And so I apologize that I had to abruptly leave the Board of Directors on the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation Authority, but I wanted this opportunity to say that it has been an honor and a pleasure to work with you and also with the whole department. I have often spoken to Mayor Breed about how impressed we are about the operations of the Golden Gate Bridge Authority, and that also the workforce and the employees there, and how proud they are to represent the Bridge Authority. And I just wanted to say it was refreshing. In city politics, it often is quite contentious and is often sometimes very unpleasant. But every time I sat down at that table, joining you colleagues, it was a breath of fresh air. The respect, the civility, the dedication to your mission under the direction of President Parr and their leadership, but also under the leadership of General Manager Mulligan. And I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to serve with you and alongside of you. I know that my term is very short. I have chosen not to run for re-election for my seat. My husband is a retired San Francisco police officer. He served for 35 years. He retired in 2012. And so I wish I could say I was going on to something else, but actually I feel like I am on a pathway to happiness, and my husband and I are retiring. Having said that, I am a fourth generation San Franciscan, and at my home, I can see the Golden Gate Bridge from my deck. And I now have a deeper pride and respect for that Golden Gate Bridge, what it represents not only to San Francisco and to California, but what it represents to the world. And I just want to say it has been an honor and a pleasure. And I want to thank you all, colleagues, for making me feel so welcome. And I wish the new directors much luck. And I want to also congratulate Supervisor Stephanie for serving on your board. I think she will serve you well, as she has done on the Board of Supervisors. And so in closing, I guess I just wanted to say again that my deep appreciation for everything that you do, and also for all the employees and Amaret, a special appreciation for you, answering all my questions, but also to orient me to the board and the workings of the Golden Gate Bridge Transportation and Highway Authority. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Are there any board members who would like to comment before we take a motion and a vote?
Yes, this is Bert Hill. I would like to offer
Go ahead, Bert.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I've known of Sandra for a number of years. First through Coleman Advocates for Children and Youth via Betty Alberts. She goes back a long way on supporting education and youth. Through Betty Alberts, a mutual friend. As a supervisor, our paths crossed occasionally through various public meetings, usually involving bicycle access and safety issues, where she was responsive and helpful. But I didn't really get to know her until she joined the board, and we sat together, lucky enough, sharing backgrounds and family dynamics. Sandra's family, as she mentioned, dates back 4 generations in San Francisco. My wife's family, 3 generations, and also Chinese. As children, and especially girls of Asian descent, are often exposed to de jure and de facto discrimination, subtle but exposed to the present. And she knows how to, I don't want to say this very well, but she knows how to recognize and confront it, as she has done for her entire career, especially in the Board of Supervisors. I admire her greatly for that. While Sandra and I mostly share similar views, I have to point out that she never supported my advocacy for a roundabout on 8th and Lake Street, which I really need bicycling to the Golden Gate Bridge. But I'll keep trying, Sandra. I would like to offer a motion to authorize a resolution for Sandra Lee Fewer of appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you for that motion. I'll take a second, and then if there are other board members. All right, I think that's Director Cochran. All right, are there other board members who would like to speak to Director Fewer? I would personally like to. Sandra, I know that that's a tension and a balance between being on the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge Board. And I know that you spent some time telling us, you know, why you had made the decisions you did. But from a president and another board member's point of view, it always appeared as though you were conscientious about attending the Golden Gate Bridge Board meetings. And I personally appreciated that. It's always great when the San Francisco supervisors can free their calendars and join us. So that was clear that you had made us a priority, and that is so appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a roll call vote, and then, let's hear a little bit about the resolution first. Amaret, could you highlight some things from the resolution?
Sure can. Thank you, Sandra, for those kind words about my assistance helping you on the board. I'm going to mention that some of the items that I did mention under Director Belforte's, former Director Belforte's, whereas resolution clauses, is also included in Sandra Fewer's. Although short, some of the projects also that I didn't mention and included would be the completion of replacement of 40-foot buses with new hybrid electric buses, adoption of a 5-year toll plan, expanded use of a Golden Gate Transit's bus storage facility in San Francisco, implementation of apprentice programs and expanded professional development programs, new transit service changes to speed up travel in our corridor. So there's many things that happened. I mean, it may not seem like it was long, but there were many actions that were taken by this board while you were on our board that really did contribute to where we are today.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I think we're ready for the roll call vote, Madam Secretary.
You got it. I have a first from a motion from Director Hill and a second from Second Vice President Cochran, starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Director Frederick.
Aye.
Director Garbarino.
Aye.
Director Grosboll. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Aye.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Moylan.
Yes.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni. Absent. Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Stephanie. Absent. Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you very much, and thank you again, Director Führer, for your service.
Thank you, President.
Agenda item 10C is to authorize a resolution of appreciation to Catherine Sears. I always want to just call her Kate, in recognition of her service as director on our board. Appointed by the Marin County Board of Supervisors, Kate took her oath of office on December 16, 2011. We thank Kate for her years of service on our board, as well as her service as Marin County Supervisor for District 3, representing Southern Marin communities. I believe Kate's on the line today. Kate, do you have a few words for us?
I certainly do, and thank you so much.
Good.
It's really been an honor and a delight to serve on this board. I think, I too was born in San Francisco and grew up in Southern Marin and represented our communities on the board of supervisors. I'm a former ferry and bus commuter, and I, like really all of you, feel a very special connection to the bridge and the district, and I think that's one of the many things that makes this board so special. I didn't really know what to expect when I got onto the board of the directors. There are all these stories about, oh, it's so stodgy and traditional, and of course that's absolutely not the case. I think this is a wonderful group of folks on the board. You're really strong and thoughtful, and I know that everyone on the board cares very deeply about the district and all of its employees. And Dennis, you and senior staff are just the greatest group of professionals that any board could hope to have. These are challenging times, as we know, and there's a lot of important decisions ahead. But I have absolute confidence in all of you and in your wisdom and your sensitivity and your compassion and your ability to make the right choices in any circumstance. I also want to give a special shout out to Director Theriault, who I've sat next to for all of my days on the board, and I've learned a lot about long distance bike riding and French poetry and other important topics, and that's really been fun. And I also want to just mention Dennis Rodoni, who's joining the board, who I know will do a good job and be a good addition to the board. And, finally, I'd really like to express my appreciation for Kimberly Renee Gamboa and her husband, Manuel Gamboa. It's just, you have been such a strong and positive presence in the face of horrible tragedy and a significant and meaningful presence at every board meeting for all of us. And it's really been tremendous to have you here, and then that you will continue on supporting the board. So thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been great to get to know you. I had a hard time when the roll was called this morning. I was waiting for my name to be called so I could say president. So these transitions are always challenging, but I will miss you all and wish you all the best and what's ahead. So thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Are there any board members who would wish to comment before we get a motion and our vote?
Oh, yeah.
Poetry person.
This is Director Theriault.
That was enthusiastic, Mike. That was
man.
enthusiastic.
Kate,
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. I have to say, you were my table mate longer than anybody else in my time on the board, and I have really missed sitting next to you. during the time that we've been confined to these phone calls. And once we get back to sitting at the table again, whoever is in that chair next to me has got a lot to live up to. I always had the sense, whether justified or not, that we were being delightfully conspiratorial. And
exactly.
And I so thoroughly enjoyed my time with you. I haven't ridden my bike across the bridge, I will tell you, since things kind of shut down in March. I kind of hope that once I get back to those long distance rides and come flying through Sausalito, I tell you what, if I see you, I'm going to slow down and we'll have a long talk. Take good care of yourself, Kate. Enjoy your retirement. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Are there other board members that wish to comment?
This is Patty. Yes, I would just like to thank Kate. She's been an inspiration across the table from me all these years, and your thoughtfulness, thoroughness, the way with which you have expressed opinions one way or the other, I have found to be inspirational and a gift to all of us in helping us guide through some tough times and tough decisions. So I just want to thank you, dear friend. All the best.
Thank you, Patty.
Are there others?
I would like to speak. Sala.
Yes.
And you forgive me here because I think I'm going to steal some of Amaret's thunder. But I would like to address this directly to Kate also. You've accomplished so much as a Marin County supervisor, but I heard in your comments today your pleasure and appropriate pride in the service of the Golden Gate Bridge District, its staff and its board members, especially some of them. You've been a thoughtful and integral participant in the work that realizes the major achievements of the district. You served as a member of the Transportation Committee, the Government Affairs and Public Information Committees, a member of the All-Electronic Toll and Architectural Design of the Toll Gantry Advisory Committees. All this resulted in efficiencies of travel on the bridge and highway, reducing greenhouse gases. And also, it added to the bridge district status because of its being the first Bay Area bridge with electronic tolling. We all anticipate the new gantry system. During your tenure, the bridge district initiated the movable barrier system that allowed freer flow of traffic in the commute direction. And especially, we should recognize your role in the development of the Golden Gate Physical Suicide Deterrent Net System, the seismic retrofit systems, all making the bridge safer for all. And with your participation on the board, the initiatives of the district's strategic financial plan was implemented and are being implemented. There is just so much. And the broader picture, the strategic visions for the Golden Gate Ferry and Golden Gate Transit were approved and implementation was begun. Various bus and ferry service improvements were instituted, including Wi-Fi availability on buses, the hybrid electric bus replacement system. The Sausalito Ferry Terminal Vessel Boarding Rehab Project should really point of fulfillment in your memory, and the establishment of the Chase Center Special Event Ferry, and the lease of a new ferry to meet serviceman. Now we're at this place where the pandemic could have slowed even further our fast march to big dreams. But the accomplishments of the Bridge District during your tenure were achieved with your input, your guidance. We're all so grateful for that. The value of a colleague with both common sense and grand achievable visions is so crucial to bringing meaningful projects to fruition. I would like to thank you, and I think I can say this on behalf of all of us, for the opportunities you made possible for those of us who served the district with you and for the people the district serves. And I would add to that, the pleasure of just serving you has my gratitude also. And with that, actually, I would like to move to authorize a resolution of appreciation to Catherine Sears.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Are there others who would like to speak?
President Parr, this is Dennis Verdoni. I'd like to speak if I could.
Of course.
I first apologize for some technical difficulties I had in the last two votes. My phone didn't want to let me unmute. But I worked with Kate the last 4 years at the Board of Supervisors. We were office mates. Our offices were next door to each other. And she was very good to me, very kind to me. And I really appreciated the friendship that we had. And we did a lot of good things together in just a short time. So I'm very proud of that. And we gave Kate quite a send-off at the Board of Supervisors. I think there was over 2.5 hours of celebration and comments, so I won't repeat all those, but I just want to thank Kate for her service and wish her all the best.
Thank you. Are there other comments? I'd like to make a comment that, Kate, I was always impressed, number one, with your environmental heart. I think that was important to all of us, and we expected you to come forward with your environmental heart. And the other part was when in transportation meetings, when we were talking about routes, you always knew the numbers and where they went. And, you know, as someone who doesn't ride Marin Transit, I was always impressed with that. So you had a great impact in how we routed and how we changed our transportation routes. And I always appreciated that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara.
So, Amarette, if you weren't taking notes, maybe you needed to add some things to the resolution. Let's vote, and then you can see if there was something in the resolution that we need to highlight other than the wonderful words that Alice said. So, would you please conduct a roll call vote on the resolution for Kate?
Sure. I believe I heard a first motion made by Alice Frederick, and
there was
a second. Was that by Director Garbarino?
No, but I'll love to do it.
Oh,
Judy, this is Judy.
The second was from Director Terrio.
No, we have 4 seconds, right?
That's right. We have 4 seconds, but I have to admit that I did hear a female voice as the second, and I was thinking it was either Director Garbarino or Director Arnold. So thank you for being honest.
Okay.
Okay, starting with Director Arnold for the item to approve a resolution of appreciation to Kate Sears.
Kate, this is done with such good love and thankfulness for you being here and making things so well in Marin and in the Golden Gate Bridge District. So thank you and good luck. Aye.
Thank you, Judy.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Aye for Director Arnold. Director Frederick?
Yes.
Yes. Director Garbarino?
Yes.
Director Grosval? Absent. Director Hernandez?
Aye.
Aye. Director Hill?
Yes.
Yes. Director Maston?
Yes.
Yes. Director Moylan?
Yes, and I'm going to miss your nice smile.
Thank you. Director Rabbit?
Aye.
Aye. Director Rodoni?
Aye.
Aye. Director Snyder?
Aye.
Aye. Director Stephanie? Absent. Second Vice President Cochran?
Yes.
Yes. First Vice President Terrio?
Yes.
Yes. And President Parr?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add from the resolution on this one, Amarette?
On this one, I have to admit that seems like Director Frederick has already mentioned quite a bit of it, but one thing I think is a good tidbit to know is that former Director Kate Sears was on this board when we celebrated the 40th anniversary back on January 1st, 2012 of Golden Gate Transit, and of course the 75th anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge in 2012. So I wanted to mention those two items too, because those two are very momentous occasions.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on, agenda item 10B is to authorize a resolution of appreciation to Brian Sobel in recognition of his service as a director on our board representing the County of Sonoma. Brian previously served as director on our board from March 4th, 1993 to March 31st, 1995, and was reappointed on August 19th, 2008. Brian, thank you for your years of service on the board and for membership on the committees and numerous advisory committees. Brian, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, Madam President, and thank you very much for the opportunity. And I am reflecting on all of the comments made by the other directors who are leaving the board, and I would echo their comments. I would start with saying thank you to all of the great directors that I served with currently on the board and those that have left. I remember serving with Dietz Stroh, Marin County representative, who passed away as president. You know, a sad day in Golden Gate Bridge history. But I've been around long enough to have been involved in all electronic toll, the suicide deterrent, seismic retrofit, and so many more initiatives that we worked on all together. And through all of that, working with, as I say, great directors, and also the best staff anybody could find, from Dennis Mulligan through all the assistant general managers and Amaret and her team. It is a class organization steeped in history, but relevant today as it has been through the many years of the bridge. And I want to also mention the many people that came before the board from the public. Kimberly Renee was mentioned. Kay James, who lost her son to suicide on the bridge. It was why some of us really became such strong supporters of the suicide deterrent. And I know that that'll be completed soon, and that'll be a great day. I would offer that the one thing I enjoyed most about being on the board was that people left their agendas when they came in the boardroom. Whether they were from San Francisco or Mendocino or Napa or Marin or Sonoma, when they came to the board, they set aside their professional agendas, their personal agendas, and they did the work of the Golden Gate Bridge. And the Golden Gate Bridge, we don't have to remind ourselves, and Sandra talked about it, is a world icon. I recall being on a delegation, State Department delegation to the Middle East in my first term in '93, and I remember I brought along a bag of rivets that had been removed and replaced on the bridge. And I'm going to tell you that in Egypt and Israel and Lebanon, the rivets were more treasured by people there than if I'd brought moon rocks. They all knew the Golden Gate Bridge. The world knows the Golden Gate Bridge, and it has to be, and I know it is, the first priority always. That bridge needs to stand for another 100 years or more before some smart person figures out how to deal with the main cables and other technical issues. But with all of that said, I just want to conclude by once again saying that it's been my pleasure to serve on the board, and I'm always, as I like to say, a phone call away. Thank you, Madam President, for the opportunity, and thank you for all your courtesy.
Thank you so much, Brian. Before we have a motion, are there board members who wish to comment?
I would like
yes,
to comment.
Madam President, I would like to comment. It's Patty.
All right, Patty.
Thank
Director
you.
Gabarino, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I just want to run through Brian's leadership, as we all know, has been invaluable. During his tenure, I'll highlight, and it's been mentioned, the district developed a strategic plan for achieving long-term financial stability, implementing many cost-reducing and revenue-generating that successfully reduced the district's deficit. He helped to find funding for the Golden Gate Bridge physical suicide deterrent system and also helped to obtain funding for the completion of the Golden Gate Bridge seismic retrofit. Brian has consistently taken on additional responsibilities and been the chair of not only the Finance Auditing Committee, the Post-Employment Benefits Retirement Investment Fund Board, the All Electronic Toll Advisory Committee, and the Transportation Committee. That's quite a lot. Most recently, he helped to guide us and the district through the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic with his knowledge and his passion. I'd like to take a moment to read an excerpt from a letter he received from Miss Kay James. Dear Brian, I had read about your not being appointed again to the Golden Gate Bridge District from your county of Sonoma and was deeply saddened because the Golden Gate Bridge District is losing an admirable member of its board. I don't know if you remember me or not, but I spoke at a board meeting in 2012 after losing my son Michael Bishop to suicide on the bridge in 2011. I also brought copies of the book The Final Leap by John Bateson for each of the board members to hopefully read. You were the only board member that made an effort to contact me after I addressed the board. You personally called me, and we had quite a lengthy conversation. You were caring, empathetic, and very helpful, making yourself available for any further questions I might have. I will never forget how you handled this emotional situation with such compassion and understanding. In addition, you all should know that Tiffany Renee Gamboa not only sent a letter to support his reappointment, she also spoke on his behalf at that hearing. So as you can see, Brian's been a multi-talented and compassionate director. He has been a champion of maintaining not only the services we deliver, but also the Golden Gate Bridge structure itself in its magnificent glory as an international icon. And Brian, you are also an icon. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Patty. I heard that there were others that wanted to speak. Is that, do you have those on the list?
I would like to second that motion.
I would like
all right. Let's
This
make
is John
sure,
Morgan.
Patty, are you prepared to make the motion?
Prepared to make the motion. I thank you for the opportunity. Yes,
right.
I know that we share, authorize a resolution of appreciation to Brian Sobel in recognition of his dedicated service as director of the Gate Bridge, Highway, and Transportation District Board. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you. And then, John, are you prepared to second it? Is that what I heard?
Yes, I would like to second that motion because
all right.
I have been around a few years. I know Brian very well, and I've always I've always had a lot of respect for what he about. You know, we talk about pension plans and welfare for the workers and all kinds of great things that we love to vote on. And one thing about Brian, I've never heard him saying anything bad or wrong about some of the things that we've done around here. He's always been very helpful in getting that information for us. And he's done we're going to miss him. That's for sure. I don't know, Mr. Snyder, know who's going to take his place. I haven't seen him yet. I would like. This is the thing about this problem we've having with the coronavirus situation is that I'd like to be able to see the people that came.
Well, we'll be able to do that hopefully by fall.
I hope so.
All right.
I hope so.
Thank you, John.
Anyway,
all right.
Thank you.
So I have a
thank
motion.
you, Brian. Thank you, Brian, for all your help and everything else. And
thank you, John.
We worked well together, and God knows, maybe we'll do it again in the future. Who knows? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I have a motion and a second, but we aren't finished. If there are people that board members that have comments, please speak up.
This is Alice. I would like to make a few comments.
Right.
It was my pleasure and my education to serve with Brian. I knew if I had a question about how the magnificent staff reports on the Bridge District's financing fit into the overall picture of the economy, and analysis of any meta-analysis we looked at, I could turn to Brian. But, it is his compassion and understanding, not just his acumen and his experience and overview of the district finances that was so valuable. Brian's influence, in fact, was effective in moving the Bridge District Board's original proposed layoff dates from early December to a later date as proposed by the union, and these kinds of hard decisions were made in the absence of knowing what on the national level was actually going to happen. The consideration of layoffs was an essential duty of our district board meetings, and it was difficult. The accepted changes he provided also gave an additional month of salary should the layoffs ever be implemented at that particular time. And the adopted action on the layoff severance package went beyond the district's MOU with the union and even included his proposals, specifically adding an additional month of health benefits and the extension of the Labor Advisory Committee's proposed extension of severance pay from 2 to 4 weeks. That's a narrower net of his contributions to the board. And I want to thank him again for being a colleague, being a source of information and experience. And I'll miss sitting next to him and poking at him for our differences in political orientation.
Thank you. Are there others?
Madam President, Director Rabbit.
Yes. Go ahead.
Brian, I just want to say thank you for everything, working alongside of you all these years, your friendship, your sage advice, but also the way that you handled yourself at the bridge, as has been noted by my colleagues, or our colleagues here, has been exceptional. And just say thank you very much. I'll miss our commuting down to the bridge together, catching up on things like that, but I know that'll continue going forward. All the best with everything as we move forward, and just say thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Alice. Very, very much.
Director Snyder,
President. Oh, go ahead. Sure, go ahead.
No, I wanted to thank everybody for their comments about Brian. I also wanted to, thank him for his service. And I mean, my door is always open, and I hope I can reach out to you if I have questions. I'm fully committed to carrying on the good work that you guys have done here and you've done, and really look forward to, sitting down with you at some point. So thank you, Brian, very much. And I know we worked on some projects in the past, and I hope to in the future too. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And yes, I'm happy to meet with you anytime.
So this is President Parr. I'd like to personally thank Brian. Some of this has been said, but as we've worked together over the years, what I've appreciated is his level head, of course, his fiscal expertise. As you heard Alice say, his compassion for our employees that I think sometimes didn't show to anyone other than those of us who were in on the labor committee and understood the power of what happened in there with his suggestions, for his sense of fairness, for his courage. And a part that I think all of you see is I've appreciated his sense of humor in the midst of some really hard decisions and places that we didn't want to go but knew we had to go. Brian always kept his sunny side up, and I appreciated that. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, very, very much.
You're welcome. With that, we have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll if there are no more board members that would like to speak?
Thank you. I just wanted to also point out that in my draft resolution I've drafted that Director Sobel was instrumental in being the chair of the all-electronic advisory committee, and that's when the district switched over from manual toll collection to all-electronic toll collection on the Golden Gate Bridge in 2013. And in fact, he was in the car with then President Eddy when they crossed and paid the last cash toll on the bridge that evening.
Ah.
Yes, actually, I paid the last toll. Jim didn't have any money.
That's not surprising.
Thank you. I have a first from a motion from Director Garbarino and a second from Director Moylan, starting with Director Arnold.
Yes.
Yes.
Great to yes. Thanks.
Thank you. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Crosball. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Aye. Director Hill.
Yes.
Yes. Director Maston.
Yes.
Yes. Director Moylan.
Yes.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Aye. Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Stephanie. Absent. Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Curio.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of the directors, the former directors that were here. The next one, item 10C, is to authorize a resolution of appreciation to Norman Yee in recognition of his service as a director on our board. Norman's unable to join us today and sends his regrets, but he wanted to convey that he's enjoyed serving on our board and working with the staff over the years. And he thanks everyone for the spirited discussions and thoughtful deliberations. Are there any board members who wish to comment?
Madam Chair, right, Madam President, Director
Yes.
Terrio.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've worked with Director Yee for many, many years, actually, ever since his time on the school board, through his time on the Board of Supervisors, into his time on the Golden Gate Bridge Board of Directors. And I have to say that I've always respected him greatly. That he was always extremely honest, extremely thoughtful. There were never any games with him. If he said he was going to do something, you could always count on him doing it. If he said he was not going to do something, you could count on him not doing it. He's a politician I've respected immensely as long as I've worked with him. And if you would convey that to him, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is Bert.
Go ahead, Bert.
Yes, Norman Yee is a supervisor for my district in San Francisco. I didn't know him very well before that, but I worked hard for him. He was always very fair. He really a supporter of the things that I was supporting, active transportation and things like that over time. I just wanted to add the other footnote is that of all the city supervisors, I think he's the only one that I can recall who attended committee meetings. He was outstanding in that sense that he always participated where a lot of the decisions are made and you know sort of you know where the ground meat is put together. And he was always a straight shooter, and I think the world of him. I'm glad he's enjoying himself in his new retirement.
Thank you. Are there other comments from board members?
Yes, John Moylan. He was
yes, go ahead, John.
My supervisor from District 7 also. And to talk about retirement, he'll never retire because he's somebody that's interested from the day he took the job and never was always here for the meetings. And he wasn't always here for them, but at every meeting he could attend, he was here for. And he always did a great job for us in the district. And I voted actually. I did vote for him in the district election when they first ran. And I didn't even know him. He just came around to the house one day and he talked to my wife and I. And by golly, he left with a vote. So we did a lot of respect for Norman. And I hope he enjoys. He's not going to. There's no retirement for him. He's going to be working next week, doing something for the city and the county of San Francisco for something. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. My personal response to Norman was that it was always nice to see him at the table, and you all got it. He was very, very conscientious about attending, and I was always impressed that it appeared as though he actually had read our papers and actually reviewed the budget and came with questions. So we appreciated the fact that he would stay on our board when he became president of the Board of Supervisors. Do I have a motion to accept the resolution or to send the
Also
resolution?
moved.
Thank you, Mike. Do I
Second.
have a second? All right, and I have a second from Director Moylan. Any other comments from board members? If not, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. I have a first from Director Hill, and then I have a second from Director Moylan, starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Aye. Director Frederick.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosval. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Aye. Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Yes.
Director Moylan.
Yes.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie. Absent. Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Terrio.
Yes.
And President Barr.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Before we move on to the consent calendar, I'd like to take just a moment to welcome officially all of you to 2021, and hopefully it'll be more predictable than 2020, and hopefully we can work toward a spirit of conversation and cooperation this next year. We all know that there are challenges ahead for us as a board: staying mission focused, retaining employees, welcoming back whatever ridership looks like, maintaining fiscal solvency, staying healthy, ensuring equity in all we do, and valuing what each of us bring to the board. So I look forward to a year of incredible successes for our iconic bridge and its amazing support team, which includes all of you. So thank you again for being part of it, and let's continue with the next item on the agenda.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item number 5, to approve the consent calendar, including approval of minutes from the committee and board members of November and December, which catches us up for 2020, as well as ratification of previous actions by the auditor controller. The consent calendar is located on pages 5 to 48 of your packet.
Thank you. Before we take our vote, are there any questions from board members on the consent calendar? Hearing none, may I have a motion on this item?
Also moved.
I second.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. I have a first from Director Cochran, Second Vice President Cochran, and Director Moylan, starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Aye. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Yes. Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosval. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Yes.
Director Moylan.
Yes.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Abstain?
Thank you. Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Stephanie. Absent. Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Terrio.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you. Would you please introduce the next item?
Excuse me, I've got a little frog in my throat. Item number 6A is the report of the general manager. Staff report can be found on pages 49, and Dennis Mulligan is here to present his report. Thank you, Mr. Mulligan. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, President Parr, members of the board, members of the public. My written report is before you. I would like to highlight briefly and mention a couple items. First, I'd like to mention suicide intervention efforts. 2020 is behind us, something we've all been looking forward to. Arguably, there's no more noble task for government than saving lives. and you have staff that does that every day here at the bridge. In 2020, 213 people came to the Golden Gate Bridge to hurt themselves by jumping off the bridge. Your staff, working in partnership with other agencies, stopped 185 individuals, but sadly 28 people died by jumping to their deaths. I want to thank our bridge security staff, our patrol officers on the sidewalk every day, our bridge services staff, our armed workers, our partners at the California Highway Patrol for all their tireless efforts to engage people on the sidewalks, to over the rails, to grab them and bring them back, because they saved 185 lives last year, and I would be remiss if I did not draw your attention to that. With respect to the ongoing pandemic, you may recall near the end of last year, we had a surge in COVID-19 in California and in the Bay Area that led to an imposition of more stringent restrictions on business and community activities in the Bay Area in an effort to slow down the spread of COVID-19 and to save lives. So our travel in the Golden Gate corridor was slightly depressed further. For example, the week of January 3rd, ridership was down on our buses by 88%. So we only carried 12% of our normal bus ridership. Our ferry ridership was down 98%. We only carried 2% of our normal ferry ridership. And bridge traffic was down about 40% when compared to the same week last year. So all three modes went down a little bit as compared to the fall, when things had stabilized at the pandemic levels. And associated with that, obviously, is a significant drop in revenues for the district. The good news, as people refer to it as the light at the end of the tunnel, is that as vaccines become more commonplace, coupled with the decline in the rate of infection of COVID-19, we anticipate our public health officials will be able to ease restrictions on business and community activities, such that we'll see at least a partial return to travel in the Golden Gate Corridor in the coming months. But we probably won't get a sense of what the new normal looks like until the fall. In the week of January 3rd, we lost $1.7 million in tolls and transit fares that we would normally collect compared to the prior week. So our finances continue to be upside down. Fortunately, on December 27th, then President Trump signed an omnibus spending bill that included the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2021, which people are now calling CRISA. And CRISA included $14 billion for transit agencies across the country. The unique formula in that was very beneficial to the Bay Area. So the Bay Area will receive $982 million. The Metropolitan Transportation Commission, MTC, is the agency that will decide how this new relief money will be allocated among the over 24 transit agencies in the Bay Area. They will meet on January 27th, which is next Wednesday, to allocate the first tranche of this funding. They're going to break it up into two chunks. And the first chunk is what they call a true-up to the prior CARES Act allocations. And this first tranche will spread $180 million among 5 transit operators. Back in March, MTC made assumptions. They were great assumptions based on the best information available on different revenue sources used by transit agencies, such as tolls, transit fares, and sales tax. Reality has closed out with the end of December, and so this true-up looks at lost revenues compared to those original assumptions. And there are 5 transit agencies that did not fare as well as MTC had assumed. And so when MTC meets next week, if they act on the staff recommendation, they will allocate $20.3 million to the Bridge District. And we'll let staff and you know when that happens. The remaining $802 million will be distributed among all Bay Area transit operators, including the Bridge District, in March. It's important to highlight that the intent of Congress in providing this money is to help transit agencies make payroll so they could pay their staff and retain staff. And the intent of this is to help transit agencies survive the pandemic. It was not for new initiatives, so you may hear advocates talk about different ideas, but the Bridge District is ardently focused on advocating to MTC that this money should be used to pay staff, and that some transit agencies should not disproportionately receive less or more money than other agencies, such as some agencies may be faced with the specter of layoffs, while others have CARES Act money that carries them well into next fiscal year. So I will keep you informed of those advocacy efforts as they unfold, but we're really pleased with the true-up. We had sent a lot of information to MTC, and it was getting, it is consistent with that. I would also, that's kind of a big one, like to talk about presentations. If we were meeting face-to-face, which we look forward to doing later this year, you would be seeing the staff and they'd have an opportunity to speak to you. But I want to recognize that the 35-year service award has been presented to Barbara Vincent. She's a principal planner with the district. She originally came to the district 35 years ago as an administrative intern, and she has rose through the ranks at the district. And after 35 years, she's still employed with us. She is starting to look forward to retirement, where her goal is to enter a PhD program in comparative literature and to teach Japanese and to be a translator. I also want to acknowledge 25 years of service to David Rivera. David Rivera started with the district on January 9th, in 1994, and January 9th he became a full-time employee in 1996. He started as a temporary bridge officer, which was what the term was for toll collectors. So he started with the Bridge District as a temporary toll collector in 1994. He later obtained a Bachelor of Arts degree from San Francisco State University. He enhances education with military leadership classes. He is honorably served in U.S. Army and Army Reserves for a total of 26 years. And he leads the security team here at the district and his roadway services, and it is his staff that is vital to saving lives at the bridge every day. I also want to acknowledge 25 years of service to Joseph C. Gallo III, a bus operator. He started working for us on January 5th, 1996. And of note, in particular, he was awarded an Employee of the Month and later the Employee of the Year back in 2008, which is a very rare distinction. Only one individual each year receives that. So hats off to Mr. Gallo and his 25 years of service. We have several bus drivers that started the same day as Mr. Gallo. Ms. Patricia Gray started also on January 5th, 1996, and she is celebrating 25 years of service with the district. Stephen Safford similarly started on the same date in 1996, January 5th. Then to shift to someone with less tenure, I would like to acknowledge Director Rabbit. Now celebrates 10 years of service with the district on January 28th, which is next week. Director Rabbit came to us as a Sonoma County supervisor, and if we were meeting face-to-face, he would be walking up to the front of the room right now. We would be giving him a plaque, and he would be provided the opportunity to say a few words. But kudos to Director Rabbit, and thank you for your service to the Bridge District. Finally, I'd like to recognize the Employee of the Month. The district has an Employee of the Month committee that is made up of employees, not managers, and they select one of their own each month to receive special recognition. And this month it's Jose Hernandez, who works as the trimmer in the bus division. Among other things, during COVID, we've had to modify how we provide our services, and he's been instrumental and creative about how we mark off seats on our buses so that we maintain physical distancing between our passengers, as well as between our passengers and our bus operators. He was originally born in Mexico, and after moving to the United States, he attended Sonoma Valley High School and Santa Rosa Junior College. He lives in Sonoma with his wife and their children, and in his free time, he enjoys working on cars. And we want to thank and acknowledge Mr. Hernandez for his great service to the district. That concludes my report, and I'm available to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. We love hearing about the service awards and the amount of time that people have spent at the district. Please make sure that they know that we appreciate their service. Are there any questions related to the general manager's report? Hearing none, thank you for your report. And Madam Secretary, would you please introduce the next item?
Item 6B is the report of the attorney, and that staff report is found on page 65 of your packet. And Kim Manolius is on the line to present his report. Go ahead, Kim.
Good morning, everyone. As Amrit said, our report's before you. I'm happy to take any questions. We do have a scheduled closed session on the Saliani case. President Parr, I did want to note that with the time getting as it is, our report is about 25 or 30 minutes. And I just wanted to let you know that in case you wanted us to come back with that.
All right. Why don't we wait until the end of the meeting, and then I will ask the board what their pleasure is, and we can decide at that time if that's all right with you.
That's great. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you for the offer. All right, Madam Secretary, would you please introduce the next item?
The next item is item 6C, which is the report of the chief engineer, and that report can be found on page 11 of the Building and Operating Committee packet, and Ava Bauer-Furbish is here to present her report. Ava, go ahead.
Thank you, Amoret. Madam President, members of the board, my written report is before you. I would like to provide a brief status of the construction of suicide deterrent on the bridge. So firstly, the fabrication of all structural steel for the project has reached approximately 96% completion. This includes the fabrication of all net supports. We also have almost completed fabrication of wind fairings, new bridge railings, and also the tall railings for the North Anchorage House, and also the traveler rails on which new maintenance travelers will travel along the suspension bridge. With respect to the fabrication of the net, as of now, the fabricator finished 270,000 square feet, or 70% of the net. And in December, they begin delivery of the net to the contractor's yard in Richmond. So as of now, we have about 61,000 square feet of the net stored in that yard. On the bridge, the contractor is installing various work platforms, and specifically this is suspension bridge north backspan and north approach viaduct. These platforms will be used to continue installation of the net support, traveler rails, and the net itself. Today, the contractor has installed 234 net supports, 229 on the suspension bridge, and 5 on the north approach viaduct. And of course, the contractor is continuing installation of the wind fairings, new bridge railings, and the traveler rails on the suspension bridge. And lastly, we're working with the contractor as they are preparing design and work plans for installation of net support and the net at the main towers of the suspension bridge, and also on Fort Point Arch and the south approach viaduct. I also would like to mention another project. On the last page of my report, you notice that we're listing construction of the Corte Maldera 4-acre tidal marsh restoration. So I'm pleased to inform you that the project has been substantially completed. The only outstanding work right now is watering of plants and monitoring of the plants to make sure that they remain healthy and take root. And I would like to also add that yesterday, the representative of the town of Corte Madera walked the project site and provided very nice report on his findings. And he basically in his email stated that the areas that would most concern the town are in fact restored to the desirable condition, in fact much improved from prior to project condition. And he congratulated the Golden Gate Bridge District for a job well done. So I'm pleased to inform you about it because, as you may notice in my report, this project has a long and sometimes turbulent history. So we finally reached our goal. So with this, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have for me.
Thank you very much. That's good news. Are there questions related to the Chief Engineer's report? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please continue with the agenda?
Thank you. We will move on to item 8 since there are no other reports under item 7. Item 8A is the report of the Building and Operating Committee from yesterday, Thursday, January 21st, and the summary of recommendations can be found on page 69.
Secretary O, would you please begin your committee's report to the board?
Thank you, Madam President. Building and Operating Committee met yesterday and recommends that the board authorize agenda item number 8A1, amendments to professional services agreement numbers 2014-B7, 2014-B8, and 2014-B9, Golden Gate Bridge Seismic Retrofit Phase 3B, Technical Review Panel Member Services, as detailed in the staff report, for Michel Bruno, PhD, Carl H. Frank, PE, PhD, and David J. Nash, PE, to continue providing technical review services of the Golden Gate Bridge Seismic Retrofit Phase 3B project design through the construction manager general contractor pre-construction phase of the project, with the understanding that sufficient funds to finance these amendments to the PSAs are available in the budget for the Golden Gate Bridge Seismic Phase 3B CMGC project, project number 1923, and I so move.
Thank you. We have a motion on the item. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Before we take the vote, are there any board members who have a question or comment on this item? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, please conduct a roll call vote.
Thank you. We are voting on board agenda item 8A1, and I have a motion from First Vice President Theriault and a second by Second Vice President Cochran, starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosball. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Yes.
Director Moylan.
Yes.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie. Absent. Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
Yes. And President Parr.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you. Chair Theriault, do you have anything further to report?
Madam President, my report today is blissfully short. That is it.
Thank you, and you did well on all those names. Madam Secretary, would you please continue on the next item on the agenda?
Item number 8B is report of the Finance Auditing Committee meeting of yesterday, January 21st, and that summary of recommendations for the meeting can be found on page 71 of your packet.
Thank you. Chair Rabbit, would you please begin your committee's report to the board?
Thank you very much, Madam President. The Finance Auditing Committee met yesterday, but before we take any action associated with board agenda item 8B1 to approve a budget increase relative to capital project number 1712, Transit Scheduling System, I believe staff was to report to the board answers to questions from Director Hernandez at yesterday's meeting, and at this time I would like to ask Dennis Mulligan to address those questions.
Thank you, Chair Rabbit, members of the board. Yesterday, as part of the presentation, staff used the word automation to describe a project which appropriately raised lots of questions, and so I would like to answer those questions. To start, the bottom line is the proposed project does not affect the working conditions of any of our employees. There is no legal obligation to meet and confer because it doesn't change working conditions. That having been said, we have met with the unions about this. They are informed and they are on board. In fact, they're looking forward to the change. The, quote, automation is really adding an additional way to the 3 existing ways that drivers, bus operators can accept their work assignments. And this new, quote, automation way will allow them to do that via their cell phones. It's a new option. All the existing options will remain. And they're looking forward to having this new option because it's a lot more streamlined and easier for them. So that was the nature of it. But to answer the specific question, it does not change our working conditions. We have discussed this and met with the unions on it at crew meetings and at other times, and that has been documented. And so I'm available to answer any other questions you may have on that item.
Thank you, and thank you for the questions yesterday and for the explanation. Are there any further clarifications or questions for staff on this item?
Madam Chair, may I be recognized for comment, please? This is Director Hernandez.
Of course. Of course.
I want to extend my, thank you, Madam Chair, Madam President. I just want to extend my appreciation to all the staff, Dennis, for your comments just made, also to Kelly and her team. We are always looking to improve our operations here, and it's important to check in with our labor units and for as board members for us to check in that the opinions and of our labor groups is considered when making changes such as what was referred to yesterday as automated. I appreciate the clearer understanding today. Thank you very much again, and I am happy to move the item. Thank you.
Thank you. And it was an important question yesterday, Director Hernandez, so thank you for asking that. Are there other board members who have questions?
I have, I'd like to.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can I have it for a second?
I think we're not quite ready. We're not quite ready for a second yet, John.
Okay, all right.
Chair Rabbit hasn't really made his motion yet, so we need to circle back and ask Chair Rabbit to please bring forth the committee's recommendation, and then we'll move on to that.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate it.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, John.
So the Finance Auditing Committee is recommending authorization of Board Agenda Item 8B1 to approve a budget increase in the fiscal year 2021 District Division Capital and Operating budgets in the amount of $520,000 relative to capital project number 1712, Transit Scheduling System, for a total project cost of $3,564,966, as detailed in the staff report. And I so move, as well as Director Hernandez.
All right. It sounded like we had two motions and maybe a couple seconds. So,
Madam President, may I be recognized?
Of course. Sabrina?
I apologize for the confusion there. If it is appropriate and is necessary for Robert's rules, I am happy to second the chairman's motion. Thank you.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you. All right. So we have a motion and a second.
Perfect.
Are there any other questions, comments? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We have a motion by Director Rabbit and a second, thank you, by Director Hernandez. Starting with Director Arnold.
Aye.
Director Frederick.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Yes.
Director Moylan.
Yes.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie. Absent. Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Serio.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 8B1 passes.
Thank you. Chair Rabbit, would you please continue your report?
Yes, Madam President. The Finance Auditing Committee is recommending authorization of Board Agenda Item 8B2 to approve establishment of a new capital project, CAD/AVL, Clipper Integration, that's Project 2114, for the Clipper 2.0 system integration with computer-aided dispatch automatic vehicle location system with a budget total of $938,620. Also to authorize the General Manager to execute a professional services agreement with INIT, INIT Innovations in Transportation, Inc. of Chesapeake, Virginia, relative to contract number 2020-D-063, Clipper 2.0 system integration with CAD/AVL system in the amount of $787,119.34, and authorize the General Manager to execute the First Amendment to contract number 2019-D-009, software maintenance for INIT software with INIT in the amount of $17,664 for a one-year software maintenance after a one-year warranty, as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
I have a motion on the item. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Before we take our vote, are there any board members who have a question or comment on this item?
Yes, Director Maston here.
Yes, go ahead, Director Maston.
Yes. Yesterday I asked the question whether the 1-year software maintenance after the 1-year warranty was in the proper budget year or not, and I was wondering if there had been an answer for that.
I'll defer to General Manager Mulligan on that one.
We're double checking the terms of the warranty and the payments, but the question you raise, it may shift by 1 year in terms of what the year that should have been listed in the staff report, but I don't have an existing answer. The amount paid will not change.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
All right, are there other questions or comments? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item 8B2 with a motion by Director Rabbit and a second by Director Fredericks. Director Arnold.
Aye.
Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosbol. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Yes.
Director Moylan.
Yes.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie. Absent. Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Yes.
Thank you. That passed unanimously.
Thank you. Chair Rabbit, do you have anything further to report?
No, Madam President, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please continue with the next item on the agenda.
We'll move on to item 10, since there are no addresses to the board. Under item number 10F, it is to ratify appointments to the board by the board president to represent the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District on other boards, and that report can be found on page 73 of your packet.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to appoint Alice Fredericks, Brian Sobel, and Michael Theriault to the Amalgamated Transit Health and Welfare Trust and Retirement Board for the term from February 1st, 2021 to January 31st, 2023, and Patricia Garbarino and myself to the Sonoma Marin Area Rail Transit District Board for the term of February 1st, 2021 to January 31st, 2023.
Madam President, I'll move that motion.
All right. Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion. May I have a second? I'm sorry, I missed the second.
Second.
I heard a second.
Second, I'll second that, John Moylan.
All right. So we have a motion by Director Cochran, a second by Director Moylan. Before we take the vote, are there any board members who have questions or comments on this item?
Yes, Madam President. Director Theriault.
Yes, Director Theriault.
I would like to move that we divide the question and take the appointment of former Director Sobel under separate consideration.
All right. Am I taking that for a motion?
That is a motion, yes.
All right. I have a motion. I'm sorry.
This is Director Hernandez. I second that motion. Thank you.
All right. So we have a motion by Director Theriault and a second by Director. I've lost your name.
Sabrina Hernandez here.
Got it. Hernandez. To remove Brian Sobel's name from the recommendation. Are there questions or comments?
Madam
before we
President,
take
the
the vote?
motion is actually take it under separate consideration.
So you would like to have it be a separate motion then? So there are actually two motions? Okay.
So consider the three appointments of Fredericks, myself,
right,
and Garbarino on the one hand, and then in a separate discussion, yes.
All right. So the motion we have then is to, you heard what he said, but to take Brian Sobel's name out of the recommendation and make it two separate recommendations. And I have a second for that, I assume, Director Hernandez?
That's correct, Madam President. Thank you.
Okay, I just, with the restatements, I just wanted to make sure. All right. Do we have discussion or questions or comments on that particular item?
Point of order, Madam President. A point of order, Madam President. I believe that a motion to divide is not debatable. It's an up or down vote.
Mr. Manolius, would you please respond to that? Is that correct?
I believe what you're doing is making a motion to sever, right? These two things. Again, I suppose you could take the position that's not debatable, but if the board wants to talk about it, it can. But I think we also should first ask the original mover and seconder if they're amenable to the severance, and then take up the severance.
All right. So let's circle back around and ask Director Cochran and Director, I'm sorry, who did the second on that one?
Moylan.
And Director Moylan, if they are willing to take an amendment to their motion.
No.
All right, Director Cochran says no. Director Moylan says no. So, Mr. Manolius, does that stop the motion then?
It just makes the motion to sever as the motion on that needs to be considered first, right? It would have been obviated if we didn't need it. So.
All right. So we're still voting on the motion to sever.
Exactly.
All right. And I assume that it won't come back to bite me if we don't take comments. Is that accurate?
That's certainly my point of view, yes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but again, the board's history is to let folks speak, but certainly it does not need to be commented on. No.
It's hard to hear. This is Director Arnold. What exactly are we voting on, please?
We're voting on severing Brian Sobel's name from the recommendation.
Okay, so it's asking to do it. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Pardon me, Madam Chair, just a clarification. And we will consider Brian's appointment. We will just consider it separately. That is what I've moved, and that was what was seconded. And I'm looking at Robert's Rules of Order now. It does say it's undebatable, but as Attorney Manolius says, this board has had different practices at times.
All right, I'm going to rule that it's not debatable at this point.
Madam President, this is Dennis, the General Manager. Could I ask one clarification of the maker of the motion? Would they like to state a preference as part of the motion as which one gets voted first, Brian or the other group? Just for clarity, so that when it moves after whatever the vote outcome may be, there's an understanding.
The maker of the motion leaves that to the discretion of the chair.
All right, thank you. All right, I'd like to vote on the amendment to sever. Madam Secretary, would you please state the motion and call the roll, please?
Thank you. This is the motion to sever Brian Sobel from the slate that's being recommended before us today, and to take it separately. We have a motion by first Vice President Theriault and a second by Director Hernandez, if I'm tracking correctly. And this motion to sever will start with Director Arnold.
No.
Director Fredericks.
No.
Director Garbarino.
No.
Director Grosball. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Yes.
Director Moylan.
No.
Director Rabbit.
No.
Director Rodoni.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Stephanie. Absent. Second Vice President Cochran.
No.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
President Parr.
No.
No. We have 7 noes, 6 yeses. This motion does not pass. We don't have 10.
All right, thank you. That puts us back to the original motion. The original motion is to appoint Alice Fredericks, Brian Sobel, Michael Tirio to the Amalgamated Transit Health and Welfare Trust Retirement Board for the term of February 1st, 2021 to January 31st, 2023, and Patricia Gabarino and myself to the Sonoma Marin Area Rail Transit District Board for the term of February 1st, 2021 to January 30th, 2023. We have a motion. We have a motion by Director Cochran and a second by, I keep losing the seconds.
Director Moylan.
Director Moylan, that's true. All right.
Yeah.
Are there questions or comments on this item? If not, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Director Rodoni has a question, if I may.
Yes.
Director
Director
Rodoni?
Rodoni? Yes.
Thank you, President. Just wanted to, being new, just get some clarification. It's a little unusual in my experience to have a non-board member appointed to one of these board committees. And I just wanted to understand the original resolution maybe a little bit more and how that was determined in 2001, when it may have been also used before this, and what the rationale is for possibly using a non-board member. If someone could help me with that.
I'd be happy to respond that the appointments to the other boards is the purview of the board president, and that was my choice. And we had done it before, and so I felt that that was appropriate. Brian is an infinitely qualified candidate. I think you've heard it in the resolution, plus my personal experience with him. I think that he would represent the board and be fair to the employees. And so that was my recommendation.
Okay,
if I may,
you.
This is Dennis, the General Manager. The rules of the board, Rule 4, duties of the President, B, duties relative to appointments, contemplates specifically allowing non-board members to serve on other boards. So I just wanted to make sure that that was in front of everybody also, that it is contemplated by your rules.
Thank you.
All right, are there other comments or questions?
I had a question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I defer to.
All right. I'm assuming that I don't have any other comments or questions.
Madam President, this is Director Hernandez. I'm sorry about the connection here. I'd like to make a few comments, please.
Please.
Thank you very much. So I'm disappointed that we're not going to be able to discuss the proposal that Brian Sobel continue to serve on the Pension Trust Board separately, because I don't want it to reflect on any of the other candidates whom I think will serve well and appropriately for the Bridge District. I am disappointed because I believe that both the public and some of the directors have indicated that there's a need to have a real discussion and talk and be honest with each other about Brian Sobel and the potential that he will be serving the Bridge District in the capacity as a trustee for the pension trust and not be a member of the board. There have been many, many comments today about Brian Sobel and his dedication to the district, his sincere efforts to do his best in the interest of the district, and that's undeniable. However, there are some other details relative to the service of Brian Sobel as an individual that reflect on the district as a whole. So while I say that, I also want to say it's this decision today and what I'm about to say is not so much about Brian. It's not about me. It's not about the president. It's not about the ATU. It's about something that Brian said. The good work of the Golden Gate Bridge is bigger than all of us. Let's go back a few months. The Sonoma County Board of Supervisors made a unanimous decision to appoint someone else to the position of representative to the district. There were lots of people that chimed in with their opinions that there should be a different individual representing Sonoma County on this board. There was a very contentious selection process, and there were many people from the general public, politicians, labor unions, others who spoke and contributed to the result of that Board of Supervisors coming to that unanimous decision. We heard more testimony today about that. And there were lots of questions that came up yet again today about the fact that Brian Sobel is no longer a member of this board. People said that, you know, there are 19 members of this board, all of whom come with particular expertise and experience, many of whom have served on this board for decades. Lots and lots of experience. In my opinion, I don't see the need to reach back to someone who is no longer a member of this board to serve on the trust. The opportunity to have Brian Sobel's, the discussion as to Brian Sobel's potential service be decided on is to not take that separate, I think is unfortunate. And I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to speak. So there are also two other points I'd like to make. Number one is there's been a lot of stress and strain, lots of very difficult decisions this board has had to face over the last several months. And the result of that is, thankfully, of those decisions that would have impacted our bus drivers in specific, probably more than anyone else here in the district. You know, there was a reprieve at the end of the year, and thankfully, you know, we're not going to have to exact the difficult decisions of layoffs in any form at this point. However, there's a lot of damage that's happened, I think. Again, moving back and looking at the district as a whole, doing the work of the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District from a wide lens. There's a lot of damage that has occurred, that exists now between our organization and our bargaining units as a result of these very, very difficult decisions and the way things were handled. The focus of our district now should be in part to try to do everything that we can to mend those relationships, build back that trust, which we lost, and to invite an opportunity for Brian Sobel to participate on this trust board, this pension trust, I think is to invite and welcome further controversy, to invite further challenges to our task to rebuild trust, not with just our bus operators, but other employees, a trust that's been really, really damaged. I think that we need to start fresh. And again, this is not a reflection on Brian, what he does or what he has done for the district. The quality of the man has been stated over and over and over again. It's about a new start for the Bridge District, standing back and taking the Bridge District as a whole, moving forward with something new, holding with what is customary, which is to appoint sitting board members to serve on other committees and boards, and to really spend energy trying to rebuild the trust with our bargaining units and avoiding this controversy and, in my view, a gesture in some ways of ill will. Let's move forward. Let's start fresh. Those are the things I would have been saying should we had an opportunity to take his consideration separately. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there other comments from board members before we take a vote?
Yes, John Moylan would like to say something.
Yes. Go ahead, Director Moylan.
Okay. Now, we have precedent for this non-board member serving on after they lose their job, after they lose their position on the board, they keep on sending, and one of them was myself, way back in '96, I believe it was. I've been here since 1987, and I was dropped in 96, I believe, by members of the Board of Supervisors of San Francisco, who one of them was a member of the Tea Party, if you don't mind me saying so, happened in San Francisco. And I then was asked to stay on the board when on the pension plan. I was working on the pension plan at the time. And we were doing a very good job there, too. I'd have to say that for myself. But we had Alborough was the chairman of it at the time. And he was a wonderful board member and a great man for pension plans and for any kind of benefits at all for the workers. He was always there. And then he left. And Brian Sobel came in. And Brian just continued on being a very good director, a very good participant in the plans also. I always thought he was always very knowledgeable. He worked very hard at it. And he was a smart guy anyway. Smart man, very smart man. And so I then, politics aside, and we're playing politics with this right now, in my opinion. Leave politics aside and decide on who's best for the job. And I believe that he's the best man for the job today. And that's why I'm going to support his nomination for the pension plan.
Thank
or
you.
for any of the benefits as far as that goes.
Great, thank you, President Holden. Madam Secretary, are there others that wish to speak?
Yes, Madam President.
All right, go ahead, Director Theriault.
Yes, thank you. So I did struggle with this, and I believe I understand the impulse to appoint former Director Sobel to this trust board. Brian obviously brings a great deal of personal warmth and a great deal of passion for the bridge and its business to his actions, and he certainly has a very public-facing reputation for advocating fiscal discipline, which has its uses, of course, in representing our responsibility to the public for this trust. But that said, the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors has said who they want to represent them in Bridge District matters, and at this point, it isn't former Director Sobel. And former Director Sobel, is not the only possible voice of fiscal discipline on the board of directors. There are others who are available, and the character of that voice, can be different. Certainly Brian preached the gospel of fiscal discipline very well, very eloquently. But there is a way of shall we say, living the gospel of fiscal discipline that isn't necessarily so forward. And I like to think that I have been a very good advocate of fiscal discipline on the trust board by way of counterexample, and I have listened carefully to the presentations by district staff to that trust board and their concerns about the pension plan and its administration, and my approach has been to go into the nitty-gritty of the plan. I have my copy of the trust plan close at hand here. It is festooned with yellow Post-its, filled with notes about specific provisions of the plan and language details. And from that close study of the plan, I came up with various possible ways of altering the plan. I brought them to the board. We had them actuarially and legally analyzed, And you know that is for all Brian's accomplishments in advocating for fiscal discipline. That is not something he has done. And I'm from labor. And that fact that I'm from labor has not prevented me from taking on that kind of a task. In terms of governance of the plan, the plan when I came on had never conducted annual review of its plan professionals. Now it does. That is a proposal that came from me. That is a proposal for fiscal discipline. That is practicing the gospel, living the gospel, not preaching the gospel. And again, I come from labor. It is not impossible at all. In fact, it's altogether likely that you could find someone on the board who would have the same advocacy for fiscal discipline, perhaps in a different way than former Director Sobel did. That person might come from labor or might not, but that should make no difference. A little more, when I came to the board myself, it was as an appointment by the San Francisco Board of Supervisors that pushed somebody off the board. I came with the backing of labor. My appointment was not without controversy. I think that if I had come onto the board and found that the person who had been pushed off was being retained on the board in some function or another, not retained on the board, but retained by the board in some function or another, I would have felt, we say, a little bizarre about that, perhaps a little bit unwelcome. And I don't know that that's necessary in this case. We have alternatives. Also, when I stepped down from my last job as Secretary-Treasurer of the San Francisco Building Trades, I made a point of making myself scarce. I did not want my predecessor to be on the spot in terms of what I might have done. In fact, my phone number is not known to most members of the building trades. My email address is not known to most members of the building trades. If they want it, they have to go through my successor so that he doesn't feel in any way that there's any possibility of my undermining him. And I think that is the gracious way to go. I would actually hope that former Director Sobel would take that path. But if he doesn't, well, there we are. And so that was why I asked for separate consideration. I think we do have alternatives that are good, that honor what the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors did, and with no disrespect at all to former Director Sobel, with whom I had good dealings, just as many of you did, and who I again found to be engaged and dedicated and very, very personable. I don't think it's appropriate to reappoint him to this particular board of trustees. Thank you.
Thank you. Amaret, are there other board members who wish to speak?
I would like to.
Yes, I'd like to speak for 1 second.
I would like
Director
to
Director Moylan, I think there are other people in line.
Okay, all right, okay, fine, thank you.
But we'll let Amaret get to you when it's your turn.
Thank you. I believe Director Rabbit actually wanted to speak as well as Director Frederick, so I'm going to go back to Director Rabbit.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and thank you, Madam Secretary. I appreciate that. Since it's been mentioned a few times about the body that mentioned I'm a member of that body that was been mentioned. I did vote unanimously for Director Snyder, and I welcome Chris aboard. Like I said, I support the motion on the floor, however, because I support our board president's nomination, and I support Brian Sobel in continuing to serve on the ATU Pension Board, and I don't think that's a slight to anyone who sits on the board now, including the new members. It was said that the pension trust has challenges, and that has been reported to us on the board many years over. It does, and it's because of Sobel and other board directors serving on behalf of the district on the board that it's not worse. One can say without Brian's participation that it is not worse. Board. I think Brian's financial background is needed. I think continuity in that particular position right now is needed as well. And I say that as someone who would be qualified. I've been an 8-year veteran on our own Sonoma County Pension Board. This Board of Supervisors support Chris Snyder to watch out for the county's interests on the Bridge Board. I think Brian Sobel will watch out for the district's interests on the Pension Board. To me, it's a move that makes total sense. Continuity, expertise, dedication in that regard, and supporting our board president, I think is all, and obviously, as what John said, serving in that similar capacity many years ago, the tradition is here at the board for those types of appointments, and I support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Fredericks, I believe, is next.
Thank you. From my point of view as a couple of term chair of the Pension Trust Board and also as chair of the Labor Relations Committee for the Golden Gate Bridge District, I just want to make it clear that never underestimate the ability of any member of these boards to work collegially in the interest of the pension trust. I firmly believe that the President's proposed reappointment of Brian Sobel is within her authority, is an excellent recommendation. He is an excellent bridge representative to the ATU Pension Board, and it's in the best interest of those concerned with the pension's significant unfunded liability and its progress that we are all making toward long-term stability to have Brian's expertise on board. I also would like to incorporate Director Rabbitt's comments, and that is the end of my recommendations.
Thank you. Director Moylan, would you still like to speak?
I would like to speak too at some point, President. Or
Director Maston as well.
All right. Go ahead, Director Moylan.
No, I just want to, I'm from labor also. Because it was mentioned there a few times in a speech by Ontario. He talked about being from labor about 3 or 4 times. And I'm from labor also, but I can work across the aisle. When I see somebody that's capable and as knowledgeable as Brian Sobel, I'm going to go that way. And I've been labor all my life. I've been a 70-year member of my union. Actually, I'm 72 years in my union, Pastors Union. I'm very proud of it. And I also had to work across the aisle to serve many contracts for that union. At the time I was business manager. I was business manager for 25 years before I retired. And when somebody says you can't be strictly from one thing in this business, you have to look. You have to take everything into consideration when you're voting on something, and that's the way I do it. I'm very sorry that if anybody ever thinks that I'm against labor, that's wrong. Very wrong. I'm a true labor man from beginning to end. I was born in the labor movement in Ireland. I worked in Canada for a couple of years, and I worked here since 19. And that's where I joined the Pastors Union in Canada in the middle of 1949. And I transferred my book in here for the International Union. I transferred my book into San Francisco in 1951 and never left here, except for 2 years in the service. got drafted nationally. We're all drafted, bit of Korean War and stuff. But I'm strictly a union person. Make no mistake about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Moylan. Director Maston?
Director
And Director Snyder.
and Director Arnold.
Thank
All
you.
right.
So I have a great deal of respect for Brian's experience and his perspective, even though we didn't always agree on issues. And I agree he was a valued member of our board. I'm sorry that he's no longer on it. And he has many qualities that recommend him for the Trust and Retirement Board. But I feel it's appropriate to have a sitting district board member appointed rather than a non-board member. And that's all my comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Director Snyder?
Oh, thank you
And
for,
then Dr. Arnold.
I guess, you know, I really do appreciate what Brian's done to the board. I do plan on sitting down with him and discussing things with him. I guess I'm very, you know, frustrated with, you know, this being my first meeting and us having to have this conversation. A little frustrated that we didn't split the question because I think there's a lot of things here that we need to consider. I really, you know, Terrio and Hernandez, you know, said a lot of things I would agree with. I appreciate the, you know, my appointment was, you know, controversial and there was a lot of stuff in the paper that were completely out and out falsehoods. And some of my, you know, fellow board members actually came and testified on Brian's behalf. And I know it was, you know, not a completely seamless process, but at the end of the day, you know, everybody, I am who I am, and I'm a consensus builder, and I, you know, look forward to the next couple of years. But I'm also, you know, expressing my frustration with this situation. And I guess I would ask you folks that have been elected if, you know, the person that you know you ran against now is sitting next to you, looking over your shoulder. You know, I mean, I just this feels very awkward for me. So, just wanted to express, you know, my frustration with this thing, and it's just yeah. And the second thing is that, you know, I do, you know, have some, you know, I've been in my union for 15 years on staff, and we went through some pretty devastating pension stuff, and I've sat through 15 years of pension, you know, where we lost $1 billion. We went from $4 billion to $3 billion in 4 months when the market crashed, and, you know, I had to go out and renegotiate those contracts. And we had to take a 2-to-1, you know, where we took $2 and put $1 in to replace, you know, on accrued benefits. So we got a 2-to-1 ratio. We've had to go through all the Pension Protection Act stuff to bring it from, you know, red zone into yellow, and now we're moving into green, and we're back over $4 billion. I mean, there are. It'd be for me. It'd be interesting. I guess I don't. My point is, I don't know what the rush is on this board, especially we don't have a full board yet, and there are some really qualified folks out there, and it would be interesting to look at the plan in a little more detail and see who's available and what's out there. So I appreciate everybody's input this morning, and, you know, so just some of my feelings and comments. And I guess my one question would be, you know, is this any additional cost to the board? I mean, is, you know, Brian, you know, is there pay involved or anything like that for this position? Thank you.
Thank you. Director Arnold?
Yes. I have a question and a statement. And my question is, can someone tell us how often this has happened, or in any circumstances where we have kept a director that's no longer a director on a committee?
The most recent example, this is Dennis, was Al Borough. When Al Borough did not run for re-election, he was no longer a member of our board. He had been on the pension trust for quite some time. And so the then president took the action to put forth his name to stay on the pension trust, and the board ratified it. That's the most recent one.
Okay, I remember that. Thank you very much. this issue came up about when we dealt with keeping our employees beyond January 4th. And I always felt that even if we decided to do that when we had a change of administration, that could be worked out. And we haven't mentioned that today, but I just can tell you, I feel like 100 pounds back on my back has been lifted with this new president. And so that's just a little aside. I met with the two of the very strong labor unions. We talked about it. And incidentally, I think the union had John Burton tell me, because I worked for John Burton for 8 years. You don't work for him and not be a huge part of labor, support of labor. And I had their support in my election. To me, at that point in time, weighing losing all of this money in the general fund or taking this path of getting through the holidays, getting a new president, and then let's look at it. And I thought that was sensible when John Burton called me about it, and I said, oh yeah, well, I'll tell you about it. He said, no, don't do that. I'll trust you. And I would look at him today and say that, and I feel that way. Now, the board has clearly, labor has been finding people that if they became on the board, they would have voted, they said, to not lay labor off on the 4th of January. That's very clear what happened, So now I feel like that move has really set us now on a dangerous path of saying, are we going to just have everything based on labor, or are we going to look at the big picture and keep doing what we've been doing in the past? Or, we can play political games too. So I don't want to see that happen. I think that I don't think it's a big deal to anyone to leave Brian on, because we know how he is so committed, so smart in this area. And if he were, trespassing that, believe me, Alice Fredericks would know. So it's the president's prerogative. They want to do it. I don't think that hurts at all, but I do think it hurts by bringing up things to do today because of something that happened in the past.
Madam Secretary, I think we've heard from almost everyone. If there isn't anyone else that's on the line, I think I'd like to take a roll call vote on the motion.
Will do. The motion we're going back to is the original motion for 10F to appoint Alice Fredericks, Brian Sobel, Michael Theriot to the ATU Pension Board, and also Patty Garbarino and Barbara Parr to the SMART Board. And we have a first from President Cochran, a second from Director Moylan. And we're going to start with Judy Arnold.
Aye.
Aye. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Yes. Director Grosball. Absent. Director Hernandez.
A very difficult and painful no.
Director Hill.
No.
Director Maston.
No.
No. Director Moylan.
Yes.
Yes. Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Aye. Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Aye. Director Snyder.
No.
No. Director Stephanie. Absent. Second Vice President Cochran. Second Vice President Cochran, are you still there? Is not on the line. First Vice President Theriot.
No.
No. And President Parr.
Yes.
Yes. That motion does not pass. We do not have 10. We had 7 ayes and 5 noes.
Would you
For
try
the- on
Director
the call.
Cochran again? He was the maker of the motion.
Right, I'm going to try him again. I think he fell off the line, though, now that I'm looking for him.
It takes 10 votes to pass, so even if he were on the line, the motion would still fail.
I thought there were 10 votes.
We do not have 10 votes on that.
All right, so the motion fails.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so be it. I'll have to deal with the attorneys and see what the ramifications of not having people appointed to the pension board are, and what the rules are for that, and what the rules are for the appointment of Smart. We will bring that back in some form. Thank you for your input. Mr. Manolius, I have a feeling that we've answered the question about closed session. Generally speaking, people have meetings that they have to attend that would take another 20 or 25 minutes. It would put it past 1 o'clock. But I will take a motion to postpone the closed session if that's the will of the board.
I'll make that motion.
All right, I have a motion to postpone the closed session. Do I have a second?
And a second. Yeah, yes, please.
All right, I have a second. I'm just going to take an aye or a nay, so if you'll unmute yourself so you can be part of the vote. All of those in favor of postponing the closed session to next time, please vote aye.
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 Those opposed, no. Thank you very much. We'll postpone it. And thank you, Mr. Manolius, for that offer and for that information. I think that's probably the best thing to do. Well, we clearly have our task set out for us for the next time. I hear some calls for unity. I hear some calls for honesty. I think both of those are important. Hopefully we can work together for this next year to have a strong board and to have a strong organization, which we've always had. And now we've reached the end of the agenda and there are no further
hang on a second. President Barr, we still have to go back to item 10G to terminate the suspension of the board procedural rules.
Oh, that's right.
COVID-19.
All right, just a minute.
And Madam President, if I could short circuit that a little bit, I would move to continue that item till special business at our next meeting.
This item is generally short. You generally make them. I mean, it was the suggestion that we terminate the suspension of the board rules. I would suggest that we try to take 3 minutes and do it, but the will of the board.
Yes. Director Rodoni would move that motion.
All right, thank you. So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second that.
All right, I second it. Let's do a roll call on this one quickly.
Thank you. We're
Are there
voting
any
on
comments?
10G.
What?
Yes, there are never any comments, but let me ask just for the sake of clarity.
Sure.
Are there comments on this? All right, hearing none, would you call the roll, please?
I'm sorry, could I be clear on the motion?
It's the one that you put forward. Item 10G, the discussion and possible action to terminate the suspension of board procedural rules and policies for COVID-19 related emergencies. Yes, it's a continuation, right.
All right, very good, thank you.
Are you okay with that then, Mike?
Yes, that's
okay, you got answered? Okay. All right, are there
Thank
any
you.
other questions? All right, would you call the roll, please?
We'll do, starting with Director Arnold.
Yeah, is this a Director Rodoni's motion that we're voting?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
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 Thank you for the clarification.
And Director Frederick?
Yes.
Director Garbarino?
Yes.
Director Grosball? Absent. Director Hernandez?
Aye.
Aye. Director Hill?
Yes.
Director Maston?
Yes.
Director Moylan?
Yes.
Director Abbott?
Aye.
Director Rodoni?
Aye.
Director Snyder?
Aye.
Director Stephanie? Absent. Second Vice President Cochran,
Yes.
First Vice President Terrio,
Yes.
and President Parr.
Yes.
Thank you. That passes.
Thank you
Motion
for,
passes.
yes. All right, thank you for that. That concludes the discussion on this item. Now, let's see, let me mention the communication. We have no other new business. Item number 13 is communication. If you'd like a copy of the actual communications, please contact the district secretary's office. And having reached the end of the agenda and no further items to be presented to the board, thank you for everyone for a long meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All right. If no one is opposed, are there any, is there opposition to adjourning the meeting? If not, the meeting is adjourned. It is 12:45. Thank you very much.